Hello, everyone. It's Joe Atwill and Jan Irvin with UnSpun. This is episode 49.
47.
47, good. It's a shame. I thought it was 49 because that would have been the same number as the importance of James Alefantes in Washington, D.C. But anyway, show 47, we're going to be revisiting Pizzagate. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about is the sophistry that has appeared from the mainstream media to deflect people from actually looking at the evidence. And I'm going to reference an article in the New York Times by a woman named Kang, Ms. Kang, Asian lady. And she wrote a piece in which she basically used the expression fake news 5 times, which is quite shocking considering that a month ago the term didn't even exist, but now it's just ubiquitous. Anyway, what I was going to say about the article is that you have the old-fashioned sophistry where basically they just try to frame the argument. But there's a couple things within it that I want to just point out to people so they can defend themselves against this nonsense. The most important thing is that the emails are simply described as being misinterpreted or hallucinated as having something to do with pedophilia. And I wanted to mention that the fact that the pedophilia code was discovered was not based on hallucinations, but rather it was based on the fact that you had a inexplicable series of statements that were all relating to pizza. In other words, you had a statement like, I found a pizza-related map. Now, what is a pizza-related map? People wondered. One email talked about playing dominoes on either pizza or on cheese. Now, you don't play dominoes on pizza and cheese. And so the article in the New York Times didn't do any attempt to actually present to the public this incoherency in the statements, because to do so would have just brought up the obvious fact that there needs to be some explanation because all of them are focused on this pizza theme. Now, once you plug in the fact that that they're actually referencing pedophilia, sexual activities with children, then you'll see that all of the incoherency disappears. And this is a very strong interpretive framework, because when you have just this one single understanding of what these words are actually being used for, suddenly getting rid of all the incoherency, it's a very strong framework. And if someone disputes such a code, then it's the burden is upon them to produce one that's equally as good. And rest assured there isn't. Now, you are justified and in fact required analytically to look for this particular code because, one, the FBI mentions that pedophiles use these kinds of codes to describe sexual activity, and secondly, because the photographs that were on the Instagram of the owner of Comet Pizza are, without any doubt whatsoever, are the collection of a pedophilia. It isn't just a single photo, but it's a dozen. And any normal person, any court of law that was shown this collection of photographs would suspect that the owner of them was basically a pedophile. So,
and let me just interject, the artwork associated with Comet Pizza too.
That's the third thing. And then beyond that, the symbols on businesses that are directly next to Comet Pizza, which use pedophile symbols which are known to the FBI. I'm talking specifically about the triangle within a triangle, very, very specific symbol that was on the FBI's list of known pedophile symbols. Now, this now is a cluster of inexplicable events that need an explanation, and when you plug in this idea that basically that this is pedophilia being representing itself, then suddenly all of these all of these mysteries go away, you have a really, really strong interpretive framework. And you see, this is what articles like the New York Times one by Ms. Kang tries to deflect away. They don't want people to walk down the analytic path because I'm telling you, there is so much evidence, real evidence, that people will start, even people who start out with the idea like, well, this could not possibly be, this is outside my thought world universe, the idea that the elites, the political elites would be engaging in this kind of activity. Even people who start out with that position will start to move away from it. They'll start to move to wondering and curiosity. And that's why the Pizzagate thing is not going to go away. This isn't going to go away, Jan. This is going to keep building. And because more and more people are going to look at the evidence and more people are going to go, you know something? There is something sick here which is not being given to the public. So anyway, I know we have a lot to go over tonight, but I just wanted to start out with that appeal to stay on the analytic path. Don't let the sophists push you off, intimidate you, and keep you from the logic and the evidence that is available that will lead you to a right kind of conclusion.
Now, I want to interject there that also all of this unfolds into all of the MKUltra, Satanist, Aleister Crowley stuff that we've been exposing for the last several years. And, so this is actually a part of that, and it fits together. So, we're not just ditching MKUltra to focus on this. These are essentially the different aspects of the same operation. Now, I also wanted to mention that I have been in touch with Titus Frost. He had a prior engagement for this evening, so he couldn't join us this evening. Either he or Sophia Smallstorm may join us next week or the week after, depending on how things fall. So I look forward to that. And what I want to mention also is that what we see right now happening in the mainstream media, and, in one thing that I figured out when I was doing all the research at Princeton last year was how different governments and different systems use different methods for controlling the information. And what the United States uses is a free market of ideas. And so that means when the truth gets out, what the counterintelligence community does is flood the information highways with crap to mislead and confuse people. This is another reason why studying the trivium method, having a foundation in logic, et cetera, is critical so that you can wade through the fallacious rhetoric. Now, these organizations like the New York Times, like Snopes, et cetera, that are covering this up, obviously these organizations should become the focus of, major aspects of this investigation themselves. Who at these newspapers is ordering these cover-ups? Are they involved with this type of, pedophilia?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because the article that Kang wrote in the New York Times is such a blatant act of sophistry. It's so pathetic and weak analytically that it begs the question of whether or not the New York Times is actually involved.
Sure.
The answer is yes. They are.
I would agree. And if you
what degree they're involved with it.
All right, let me finish here, because one thing I want to tie together here is my series with Steve Outram on the history of burners, with the whole thing up in the Bay Area with the Presidio and all of the pedophilia scandal that was going on there that broke in the 90s, why they shut down the Presidio. Of course, we all went to the Presidio a couple of months ago with Steve Outram and looked at everything there. And of course, the other official versions of history out there by other so-called alternative podcast hosts don't check out at all. So there is something to be said of these organizations that are trying to cover this up, and we do need to keep a focus on them. Use critical thinking. Don't fall prey to fallacies. Don't fall prey to, this has been debunked, fake news and all of this stuff. These are sophist tricks. Make sure that you go point by point through the information. Do not get caught up in fallacies. If you don't have an understanding in fallacious logic, go to my website, triviumeducation.com, or do a Google search for logical fallacies, and try to memorize the basic, 20 to 40 fallacies so that you can protect yourself. Fallacies fall into three primary categories: relevance, presumption, and ambiguity. And then all fallacies sort of fall into there as far as informal fallacies. Now, what I want to do is sort of switch gears here. I want to get into these code words that have been used by these pedophiles. And the code words are essentially hot dog, boy; pizza, girl; cheese, little girl; pasta, little boy; ice cream, male prostitute; walnut, a person of color; map means semen; sauce means orgy; and chicken lover is a pedophile. Now, what I want to do is, last night I was doing a bunch of research and intelligence was flying in from everywhere on this whole scandal last night. And someone brought to my attention an old video done by the Olson twins. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very disturbing little clip here. And I'm going to play this whole clip all the way through. It's 3 minutes long. And in light of the analysis that I just gave you, again, hot dog equals boy; pizza equals girl; cheese equals little girl; pasta, little boy; ice cream, male prostitute; walnut, person of color; map equals semen; sauce, orgy; and a chicken lover is pedophile. So what we're going to see in this Olson video is an entire breakdown of all of these points. And this is from the old sitcom Full House. So here we go.
One super giant pizza, plain, nothing on it, and I'd like that delivered as soon as possible.
Girls, your pizza's here.
Thank you. Okay guys, we've cleaned out the refrigerator. I think we're just about ready to build the perfect pizza. Give me pizza! P-I-Z-Z-A. Give me pizza! P-I-Z-Z-A. Now we're feeling kinda hungry. We gotta make a munchie. Time to make our pizza as big as some countries. How much pizza do you think we can chow? More than our parents would ever allow. We're gonna make a masterpiece pizza. A work of art like the Mona Lisa. It's gotta be high like the Tower of Pisa. But to get there, you don't need a visa. Pizza! P-I-Z-Z-A. Give me pizza! Did I happen to say, I want pizza? P-I-Z-Z-A. I want pizza! Hey! Are you ready to play? Now set down the pizza and bring me some chicken. Throw it on top and make a finger licking. Guacamole, meatball, whipped cream pouring like waterfalls. Here's a little salsa to make it hot. Here's a lot of ice cream to hit the spot. Toss the fish, let it fly. Fly, fly, pizza pie. Pizza! P-I-Z-Z-A. Give me pizza! Watch it rise like a souffle. Give me pizza! P-I-Z-Z-A. I want pizza! You think we should stop? No way! Get your motors running, cause here we go. Chocolate sauce, spreading it slow. Oreos, marshmallows, caramel, coconut cream, egg foo young, chicken tongue, holy eyeball. I'm gonna scream! Now don't forget the rice or the mashed potatoes. And what about these fried green tomatoes? Batter's up, ketchup's ready. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, spaghetti. Pasta, put it in the pizza. Fish sticks, put it in the pizza. Ketchup, put it in the pizza. Meatloaf, put it in the pizza. Pizza! P-I-Z-Z-A. Give me pizza! Add some tacos. Olay! I want pizza! P-I-Z-Z-A. I want pizza! Call us the queens of gourmet. I want pizza!
Okay, I think that's enough of that. It's pretty obnoxious. But what we saw in that is pretty much a rundown of all of these. Now, obviously, pizza is a girl. Got cheese. They mentioned pasta. They show ice cream. Now, we have a person of color who is the walnut. We have a little black girl in the video. And for the semen, they show Cheese Whiz or something pouring out of a can, like semen pouring out. They mention the word sauce and also chocolate sauce. And they also mention chicken and finger licking good. And, of course, chicken is pedophile. Now, one thing that I did see come across before was a definition of fish, which I forgot what that meant, and I didn't get that into my notes. But, you know, if people understand that very disturbing song that the Olson girls were forced to sing on this TV show before they became entirely corrupted in their adult years, we can see that this is actually highly symbolic of what they were involved in. Now, who puts ice cream on a pizza? Who puts, chicken on a pizza and all of this nonsense? And what child, for that matter, of children that age would enjoy a pizza with this stuff on it? But when we look at this stuff as pasta and ice cream and walnut and map and sauce and chicken lover and all of this stuff, suddenly we have a whole different understanding of exactly what the Olson twins were singing there. Did you have something to add to that, Joe?
Well, that kind of evidence is really sort of at the end of the process. In other words, it certainly is possible, and in light of what is coming out in terms of the current Pizzagate situation, that some demented individual actually produced the song and had those symbols in mind. Very difficult to prove at this point. But
although by coincidence, it's extremely, I mean, the coefficient of coincidence is ridiculous.
It's as suspicious as hell. It's just that it would be at the end. I mean, the way that you'd really be able to get a conviction on that would be to basically go step by step and to show that it's just impossible that this collection of concepts would have been pushed all together into one little song, and particularly being sung by little girls. That of course is
now. One thing I do want to point out is Pockets of the Future, which is a channel on YouTube, has done a series of documentaries: Full House, Illuminati, Satanic Rituals, Olson, Saget, Stamos, Jenner, etc., breaking down a lot of the satanic and occult symbolism that Hans and I, for instance, or that Steve and I showed in our series Music, Mind Control, Psychobiology, and the Burners series. So there is a lot of this same symbolism. And then one of the video clips that I had linked showing Full House tied to pedophilia has since been deleted, unfortunately, so I can't get that up, and I didn't download a copy of it. Sure, it's circumstantial. However, there is a lot of this coming together now that shows similarities that are all too similar. Now, another person that we have that is coming up with a lot of these same pizza references is Miley Cyrus. And, she is somebody that we have been exposing heavily on this show, Joe, you and I, for the last couple of years. Now, Miley... Now, how many coincidences can we take before, we end up with a conviction? So these are posts that Miley puts up on her own Twitter and Instagram pages, all pizza out. Here's a pizza girl and, all of this stuff. Here she is eating pizza, all dressed in pizza. And, so we have all of these same things. Here she is with pizza and pasta. So where do we draw the line and say, these things are just too coincidental? And she became the scarlet horror of the music industry.
Of Babylon. Right. Well, the way I look at it is you've shown, virtually 100 pictures of her representing herself with pizza. There has to be some explanation for it. It isn't something that is promoting her career. She's not selling.
How about this? There's her head between her crotch eating pizza.
Right. And so, and the fact that she's representing pizza in a sexualized form is just, it was a mystery up until a week ago or a few weeks ago. Once the code of pizza, broke out into the public, then Miley's pizza fixation, there was an explanation for it suddenly. You see, this is what we have now. And one of the things which I'm hoping, and it looks like it's actually going to come about, is that the public is starting to wake up to the idea of the symbols that the ruling class is using to both humiliate them and to represent the things that they are doing, these basically murderous events, right? They can't go public and have a legacy of saying, well, we're a pedophile ring, we operate underneath Washington, D.C., and we murder hundreds of kids every year.
Well, hold on, Joe. Stop on that point, because it doesn't Washington, D.C. have like 4 times the national average of missing children?
Right. That was a fact that I found out today, that there is a problem in actually in the state of Virginia, but it's focused in the Washington area, that it is the second most children that have gone missing or abducted, second only to California. And even though Virginia has a tiny population, if you look at this statistically, it just stands out and demands an explanation. Why are so many hundreds of children being abducted in this area?
In Virginia.
In around the Washington, D.C. area. See, this is the thing, is that the
How far is that from Langley, I wonder?
Not far at all. And so this is, this is something that the population can just look at that number and say, well, this requires an explanation. Well, I'm sorry to tell Ms. Kang in the New York Times, but this interpretive framework has a lot of explanatory power. You see, when an interpretive framework starts being able to explain all the mysteries, it's a strong theory. And suddenly the code, all of these inexplicable comments about pizza, see, that all disappears with this interpretive framework. All of the abducted kids around the Washington, D.C. area.
Now, Joe, let's point. I want to just inject one point there, because logic is the art of non-contradictory identification. And when all of the contradictions fall out of a storyline and you have that epiphany type moment, that's when you know you're on the truth.
Exactly right. And so that's why Jan and I always talk about logic, because it is absolutely necessary in order to approach an understanding of the secret society. They are good at keeping themselves hidden, but you can go through the stories that they tell about, like how the acid test came about, how Gordon Wasson, found out about the magic mushrooms. And when you go through using logic, the stories start to dissemble. And then when you can plug in an explanation, this is just an op, right? Then suddenly it all makes sense. And now that's what's happening with Pizzagate. With Pizzagate, there is now just so many things that are popping up. The one thing that came out today was the statement that they found by Andrew Breitbart, who was...
Who told, he told Podesta to fuck off, essentially,
right.
And then he ended up dead shortly after.
They found a tweet where he wrote that, how program guru John Podesta isn't a household name as a world-class, underage, sex slave, operation cover-upper, defending unspeakable drugs escapes me. Right? I'll just read it one more time real fast. How program guru Podesta isn't a household name as world-class, underage, sex slave, cover-upper, defending unspeakable drugs is beyond me. Now, this is...
Here it is right here, ladies and gentlemen, right here on the screen, February 4, 2011. It's kind of hard to, the software may be cutting off part of that. I'm going to pull it over here a little bit just so people can see that. But isn't a household name as world-class, underage, sex slave, cover-upper, defending unspeakable dregs escapes me. Right. And then he does this video that essentially, he tells John Podesta, fuck you, and he
Right,
gets
right.
back for that.
But I just wanted to make a point of logic before you do that. Let me just explain something. He had an entirely separate body of evidence to come up with this theory. What he's referring to probably is the Jeffrey Epstein situation. But notice he talks about Podesta, and notice he talks about a sex slave operation. Those aren't really facts that would have come out naturally just from what was common knowledge about the Epstein-Lolita Island situation. Podesta hadn't been brought into that. He had another set of information, another set of facts that gave him this conclusion. And those facts, even though we don't have them because Andrew is dead, unfortunately, those facts corroborate the interpretive framework that has basically ignited the Pizzagate forum.
Joe, now one thing that I want to add, and a lot of people confuse this, is that WikiLeaks is not the bulk of the evidence. WikiLeaks, all they did was release what we figured out were the code words for this to piece it together. The evidence is the paintings, the photographs, the missing children, all of this other stuff. All we did, all the WikiLeaks did was give us the ability to bring the evidence together to see a clear picture without contradictions. So what I've been seeing a lot of is that, we can't trust the WikiLeaks emails. How do we know that's not a plant? And there is one good video out there. Somebody did bring up the point that this could be, this whole operation could be using us to condition
absolutely
for something.
Absolutely.
So,
that's a real possibility, but I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. I want to finish.
It's a really important to keep that in mind. What, if they are using this for conditioning, what is it for? Is it to prepare us to accept some NAMBLA type, Peter Lamborn Wilson type autonomous zone for the whole globe so that they can bring in global pedophilia? I don't think, though, in that sense that it is working. And I don't see it as a dialectic, as one person put out a video trying to address this issue. Is it just creating a further division of left and right? I don't see it as that, but people do need to be on the lookout.
Right. You always have to be careful, but I just want to go back to your point, is that the WikiLeaks just gave the confusion. It just gave the people who are going, what in the heck is this pizza, all these statements about? What really got the thing fired up was the researcher who went in and found the photographs. It was the photographs that were found that actually exposed Alefantes as a potential pedophile. And let me tell you, those photographs, if you showed them as a collection to any jury in the United States, there is no doubt that they could be used as evidence for a conviction. If there was just circumstantial evidence and part of it was these photographs, they are so damning because of the collection of them. I hope that you were about to show them, and I think
which one? Sorry.
The collection of photographs that the researchers came up with that showed, for example, a girl taped to a table, a child.
Yes. I mean,
right. I mean, these are what happens is that this collection of photographs leads to a very impossible to get rid of concept that you're dealing with the pedophile. There they are. This is we can just go through them really quickly.
And you know what? I wanted to show one here because this is this accused apparent, just to add a caveat, pedophile's photo. I had it up here someplace. Geez, I hope I didn't accidentally close that. But I had a really good one of this guy, James Alfonte, however you pronounce his name, holding up a little boy and bragging about how clever they were. I apparently closed it so foolishly and unfortunately. So anyway, here's the other photographs here that I have. I mean,
there's a child,
with money,
with money in its mouth.
Babies taped to the table.
Now, look, this one, in my opinion, could in and of itself
pretty creepy, bro. Right down there at the bottom.
Exactly, and it says procedure for your youngest guess. Right now, now he made the case when that was brought. He goes, well, gee whiz, I was just having some fun. Right. Having some fun.
Well, I've been a parent for 10 years and I'd
like to have a mother of a 3-year-old girl, like have James Alphonsus explain this.
Now, if you were to walk in and see James Alphonsus doing this to your son or daughter, what would you think he was up to?
Right. I mean, it's just, you see, again, and I'm back up now again here. Go back one. Okay. Now you have this. This is that bracelet that goes around between the adult and the child is in the FBI list of symbols that pedophilia use basically to represent themselves, the sex bracelet. So it isn't extraordinary to come to the conclusion that this is a pedophilic representation.
And look at this here, Jimmy Comet, who's apparently James Alphonsus.
That is James Alphonsus.
And I just lost. Let me pull it back. He says hashtag chicken lovers, right?
Exactly. Chicken lover, right? Which another FBI known expression of pedophilia. It's
like flipping chickens is related to cocaine.
The concept of pedophilia as the explanation for all of these pictures is getting clearer and clearer. And I just go down a couple more, and you can see that. Now the one there of the child with that one right there, that says German baby, $1,200, do not touch. I'm sorry, but this is not funny. This is against the law. That's what that is. I mean, it isn't, because let me tell you something. If a pedophile found this collection of pictures, what do you think would go through his mind? What emotion would be stimulated? There's no question. There's no question here about how a pedophile would react to these things. It would stimulate a pedophile. It would bring it exactly. See, so this collection cannot be just swept aside as, they're just having fun. They don't know that these kinds of pictures would cause a pedophile to have a strong reaction.
Well, and Joe, there's even paintings of them from the pizza parlor with children with their heads cut off like this.
Yeah.
Look at this stuff, and then you have these. Biljana Djurdjevic,
child-friendly place to
crazy
your kids. But that
crazy Kuchko doing this stuff.
Yeah, that painting is not in James Alphonsus Comet Pizza. That's actually
wasn't that found at the Podestas?
Yeah, it's Tony Podestas, an artist that creates paintings for Tony Podesta.
Biljana Djurdjevic.
Yeah, this kind of stuff should be basically criminalized, because obviously a pedophile who saw these images would be spurred to action, and so it is rightfully against the law, in fact, and so that's why child pornography is. And even in our pornographic culture, child pornography is still regarded as.
This is why you have sickos like Peter Lamborn Wilson trying to create autonomous zones like Burning Man, and the whole promotion of NAMBLA and all of this stuff, trying to normalize such behavior. Now let's just take a look at this Kuchko Biljana Djurdjevic's photographs here. Excuse my language. Thankfully, only one country understood that. But here's a bunch of children lying in the bottom of a swimming pool, apparently. And, somebody made the point that what a better place for a kill area than the bottom of a swimming pool where you just wash it down the drain. And then another, more photographs from this psychotic Biljana. Kids in their underwear, obviously in another tile bathroom type area. All of them look petrified with their eyes wide open. Now, here's one of a dead girl in a swamp. Okay. And, here's one with a bunch of half-naked guys with, pit bulls. And here's that one with little girls again. This is a sick, disturbed person. This one has chains
Sure.
And this is obviously their kill room or whatever they're doing. Look at this. You got chains on the wall. It's a bathroom, tiled type room here. So, ladies and gentlemen,
but back up. Notice that picture had the same leaves
as the swimming pool.
As the swimming pool. See, the artist is showing you that these are abandoned kinds of areas that that murderous things can occur in.
And why are all the kids? Are all of their asses bright red here? Why do all of them have their hands behind their backs like they're tied up or being punished? All facing the wall.
Look. I don't think we need to look at this stuff much longer. The point's made. The woman is deranged. She's representing bondage, pedophilia. People who engage in that activity would see this and be excited by it and want to purchase it. I don't think any sane...
Like Tony and John Podesta, for instance.
Tony and John Podesta, right? And so that's what that collection of art helps the public understand, is that when you read that Tony and John Podesta are engaging in a spirit dinner, right? And again, it's just so sickening that please just use the internet if you want to find the ingredients that are used in a spirit dinner.
Now let's.
Those individuals then, are kind of already psychologically able to be seen as moving.
Sure.
Dimension.
Now, for more evidence, Joe, it's very important that we cover this, because there was another artist and painter, Kim Noble, whose paintings were actually shown at Common Pizza.
They were at Common Pizza, yeah.
Now, Kim Noble, she's another real crazy, apparently. Now, here's children tied up to the wall, and one child down here. Now, let's look at this. What is this? A ping pong table with children lying down? Are they dead? What is this? Their spirit? Here's one clearly showing an adult having sex with the little child, with others around helping.
Notice the towel. this is all part of the sacrificial aspect.
Now, here's two. What are these two doing? They're ejaculating, it looks like, on children locked up in cages.
No.
And, so this is, here's one obviously having intercourse with a young girl or boy. And so this is this.
Now, my understanding is that this individual actually had paintings represented at Comet Pizza. Is that correct?
Yeah, as far as I know, and I've seen photographs. Now, here's another one of, looks like a woman.
We don't need to see any more of this stuff. We've made our point. I think the public has got the fact here.
Well, it's just we need to make clear that this is not just about the
clear.
These are people tied up. It looks like they're hung up. Their eyes are covered. They look like they're maybe dead or something.
You have bondage pedophilia is being represented by the artist over and over again. It's a theme. I think the public got it. We don't need to show.
Here, just that last one. A child standing on.
Let's get rid of this stuff. It makes me sick, and I don't think the public needs too much of it. The audience will turn off the show. So, okay, we've made the point. These are demented artists that would only be whose work would only be purchased by individuals who had a kind of mental disorder. And this was art that was at the Comic Pizza. The artist did represent there, and that was the other artist was had pieces that were purchased by the Podesta brothers. So this is what you're dealing with. Again, it just creates this pattern, the pattern of pedophilia, the pattern of secret, demented, murderous activity. That explains the attraction that these individuals have to the artist. How else do you explain it?
Well, that's the issue. There doesn't appear to be any other explanation. And if people want to argue that James Alefantis just had these pedophile bondage photos up all over his restaurant because he's innocent of all of this stuff, and the people are just out ruining this poor businessman's business. Oh, come on. Why, James, did you go through your restaurant, remove all of these paintings, et cetera, when all this stuff broke?
I wanted to just refer to Amanda Kleinman, who is the Majestic 8. There's
right. Well, you know what? I want to just right before you go into that, I want to state that James Alefantis, one of his relatives, apparently, or someone by the name of Charles Alphonsus is actually, Joe, get this, who designed Washington, D.C.
The Masonic structure of
the
Washington.
Masonic structure of Washington, D.C. Now, that was Charles Alphonsus who created all of that. Now, we've been talking about this potential underground, literal underground with the subways and everything else there in Washington, D.C. Now, what would be the tie between Charles Alphonsus and James Alphonsus and this whole underground scene? I mean, is that just is it just coincidence that all of this is going on and both of these guys have the same last name? Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Now it's time.
I wanted to get to the Moloch machine because we're running out of time. But one thing I want people to be aware of is that in one of the photographs that Alphonsus had on his Instagram, he had a hand towel. And there was a letter from the person who had sent him the gift, and it had the expression Moloch machine. Now, this is a really specific concept. Refers to Fritz Lang's film Metropolis. The Moloch machine is the underside of the city. Lang, who fled Nazi Germany because of his Jewish background, came to the United States, made a lot of weird films, most of them homages to Freemasonry. But in Metropolis, it's just Freemasonry over the top. I mean, the one-eye symbolism is just constantly being given. And the point is that the Moloch machine, now Moloch is a Hebrew divinity. Some scholars see that he was originally the basis for the Yahweh character that Judaism sees as the God, but he is a divinity who is referenced in the Torah, and he is the
Torah or Talmud?
In both, but in the Torah, I mean, Jeremiah mentions him by name, and he is associated with a child sacrifice, right? So Moloch is basically a Hebrew divinity associated with child sacrifice. The Moloch machine that Lang, created, and then where the expression comes from, is the underside of a city, the underneath areas. So what I suspect is that Washington, D.C. was designed from the very beginning as a Moloch machine, that the Masons who that Lang is referencing were always intending to use the underside of Washington as a place for child sacrifice. I know this may seem far-fetched. I would reference, there's a number of websites that go into the symbolism of Metropolis, and you can see that the Moloch machine is very, very clear. It's very specific. It's a place to kill people. And so when you see the underground aspect of Comet Pizza, you see the pictures of the underground beneath Comet Pizza. Amanda Kleinman, the performer who calls herself Majestic Ape, at the beginning of one of the videos, she says, we're so happy to be here under the subway. She says it's under a Subway sandwich, but she uses the expression under the subway. Then she makes a joke about pedophilia, about how we all have our preferences when someone in the audience refers to having sex with children. And she has a demonic laugh, and then she basically supports the concept with her behavior, with her laughter. This is fun. We're all having a great time, and we're talking about our favorite activity, which is pedophilia, right? And we're down underneath the subway. So now when you look at Washington, D.C., as basically a representation of this concept that Lang brings out in Metropolis, I mean, the city makes a lot more sense, John. I mean, it's a Moloch machine, and I think that if someone gets into those tunnels underneath Washington, D.C., you're going to see horror that the world really,
like up at the Presidio up in the Bay Area, probably. Now, Joe,
yep.
I wanted to segue for a moment here. A couple of weeks ago, I had the unfortunate luck to read William Burroughs and Allen Ginsberg's book, the Yage letters or Yahe letters, about the origins and foundations of the whole ayahuasca movement that we see out there today. Now, just to warn people who want to read that book, it's all about William Burroughs' hunt for small children across South America to diddle as he was looking for ayahuasca for the CIA, as he was a CIA assassin apparently. But to your point regarding Burroughs, now this is from Jay Stevens' book, Storming Heaven, and he's referring to Jack Kerouac, Gary Snyder, and Allen Ginsberg, and he says, from their days with Burroughs, they knew that one of the quickest ways to disrupt the rational mind was with drugs. Not all drugs. Marijuana worked fairly well, but an even better disruptor was peyote and its synthetic cousin, mescaline. LSD didn't enter the beat scene until the end of the 50s, but when it did, it quickly became the tool of choice for achieving, quote, that ancient heavenly connection, end quote. Ginsberg took some peyote in the fall of 1955, and mind the audience, Ginsberg and William Burroughs were both well-known pedophiles. The second that Yage Letters book was published, both of them should have been thrown in prison or executed. But Ginsberg took some peyote in the fall of 1955. Looking out his window, he had a vision of Moloch, the biblical idol whose worship was distinguished by the burning of children. Moloch was America, Ginsberg flashed, and he began writing a poem about this intuition.
Yeah. Well, Moloch, which in the Hebraic language is just MLK, you have this comic book character, Molk, that I...
MLK.
Yeah, just MLK. That because, I won't go into the etymology, but Moloch would be just, as you'd write it, it would just be the letters MLK. And so...
I wonder who else goes by those initials.
I know. It's odd. But anyway, so this is, what I would, when I would just make this conjecture. I would look under the Denver airport. They talk about this underground city. I would look in the basement of ancient Freemason lodges. I know Ben Franklin, his home, they excavated it and they found 11 bodies buried in the basement. I think that the Moloch machine may be something that has been with us for hundreds of years. It's it's just a way that a sick group of individuals has positioned themselves in the world, what they believe. And so when you have Washington, D.C., we've got these subways, and now we have these photographs of these underground rooms that Elefante's posted. I hope, Jan, that people who hear us and take this seriously will start putting some pressure on some, to use an expression, some sunlight being brought into the underground areas of Washington, because it could be, and I'm just very worried that down there are children that are basically being tortured and used as sex tools, not even as
and they would have a whole underground world to dispose of the bodies as well.
Exactly, because you see, when you get into this volume of evil where they're just having hundreds, they would have to have some very well thought out way to get rid of all of the
absolutely
corpses.
Otherwise they would have been busted a long time ago. That's what's another issue with pedophiles is that to keep their secrets quiet, they have to kill people or children.
And you know that kids are being killed, because otherwise you'd have a lot of them coming forward and telling stories. So
absolutely. And the ones that do, like Sid Vicious from Sex Pistols, he's come out and tried to expose this stuff. Who are the two guys? River Phoenix was one, and then his buddy, the child actors in Hollywood, they've come out exposing all of this. Corey Feldman and Corey Haim, that's right. Yeah. And so, they've been coming out trying to expose it, and they're, high up in Hollywood. They're not getting any traction exposing it either. But, one thing that I want to mention here is the subject of vampirism was raised, and somebody had sent me some information on mouse rodent studies showing some sort of effect happening with blood infusions when blood was taken from baby mice and given to adult mice, et cetera. It changed things. Now, I have to raise this. We see this Mirana Abramovich, psychopath, apparent, doing lots of stuff there with these blood semen sacrifices. Now, I just have to wonder if part of what they are doing is this type of vampirism. What is the real history of vampirism? Is it part of this ancient satanic cult that we were just told had to do with a Romanian, Count Dracula?
The thing is, I would be surprised if it didn't, just because these people just have no limits to the depravity. I think that, to like focus on this kind of thing at this point in the investigation probably isn't where we should be, have our attention.
I just wanted to throw it out there because I think it might be an important connection. So,
I think I believe me, I think that you're going to get into the cannibalism stuff absolutely when you start breaking this cult apart and start exposing it. I think right now we need to make sure that more and more people are open to looking at the photographs and looking at the code. The two aspects.
Right.
Let's
change gears for a minute, because we were just talking about the Moloch machine, which is actually found in one of Podestas' emails, Moloch machine, and or one of his Twitters. Yep. And but anyway, we need to discuss Madeleine McCann. Now, Mark Jensen put out a documentary this week that apparently shows that, let me just, did I close that also? I may have closed, I don't know. I had too many windows open, but
oh no.
I do have it here, so hold on just a second.
Yeah.
He has this documentary. It is the one that shows Sid Vicious. That's why I was confused there. But Mark Jensen has this documentary going into the whole history. Now, we can see the John Podesta and Tony Podesta with the mug shots here and all of this. Now, we have some what is currently circumstantial evidence that the Podesta brothers were in Portugal on May 3rd, 2007, the day that Madeleine McCann vanished, and they were actually renting the home of Clement Freud, Sigmund Freud's grandson. And Clement Freud is, of course, the Freud is related to the Edward Bernays, whom we've exposed so much. Edward Bernays being the incestuous nephew of Sigmund Freud. He was a double nephew of Sigmund Freud, is obviously by incest. But so now the Podesta brothers, there is evidence to show that they were in Portugal on May 3rd, and intelligence communities have not verified it yet. And also, they were apparently about a third of a mile away, and this is Clement Freud. They were about a third of a mile away at Clement Freud's house, which is this house here, when Madeleine was kidnapped. And then Clement Freud invited the McCanns to his house after the kidnapping. So,
and Freud is an outed pedophile.
And Freud is an outed pedophile. He was a convicted pedophile. So here is the little girl that they apparently killed. Now, the parents have been accused for possibly making this up, but it appears circumstantially right now that it was the Podesta brothers. And again, they haven't been convicted of this, but it appears from circumstantial evidence right now that it was the Podesta brothers. They were apparently 1/3 of a mile away from this little girl when she disappeared. And so, again, like you said, we need to focus on the children. And
I'll just say about this is that if in fact it can be shown they were there, then it's impossible for me to believe that they weren't guilty, because the computer-generated police photos of the perpetrators are absolute spot-on dead ringers for the Podestas.
So this is a breakdown of the distance, and every inch is 200 feet here.
So the only question is were they there? I know many people are claiming that they were. I haven't seen the actual hard evidence of the fact, but it's something that is being, looked into. And if they were there, I think that would, be,
and coincidentally,
that the public would not have any
sure
about.
And coincidentally, these are the Portuguese mugshots.
Yeah.
And so what are the chances that the mugshots from the police look so much like John and Tony Podesta, who apparently were a third of a mile away on the same
if they were there
in a convicted pedophile's house?
Yeah, I mean, it would just be beyond anything that's there was just no way they would be able to avoid arrest, I would imagine, unless they could escape to some desert island or something. The public would just demand it. So this is all, you can see that Pizzagate is a portal. It's a way that the public can become engaged in like what the alt media inhabitants already know, that there is this secret society, that it uses lifetime actors, that you have like Obama and Podesta as they represent themselves on TV and in interviews, but then there is an agenda and a psychological structure that is very, very malevolent, and it's hidden from the public. So you've got this lifetime acting that make the people unaware of really what's going on to them. But with Pizzagate, you start to see that not just the alt-right and the alternative media inhabitants, but it's growing. That's why New York Times had to do the sophistry piece to try to quash it, is because so many people are starting to come on board and wondering about this thing. Well, let me tell you something. Wait till a couple months go by, because it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. The argument that was made in the New York Times will not hold up. It just
these are photos of the underground railways, et cetera, in Washington, D.C., just so people know there's an entire underground world there.
Yeah, and that was for some reason disbanded and then not ever brought back online. So they have access to it. There is known that from the White House there are very, very elaborate tunnels, and it has been stated that one of the lines goes directly under Comet Pizza, which is why I would imagine that is the location that.
Absolutely.
So anyway, it's man, let's just help this investigation unfold. Please, everyone who listen to this, spend the time to become really conversant with the facts. We're doing the best we can to get you as much information as we're able to in a short period of time, but nothing can replace, primary research. Do your own research. There's a ton of it available, ton of evidence out there now. Get conversant with it, and do not be intimidated. We need to...
I did have one correction. Sorry, Joe. That was Johnny Rotten that I showed, not Sid Vicious from...
Yeah. Anyway, Jan, I think we got about a minute to go, so I'm just going to say please go to CaesarsMessiah.com. You can buy the books. There's a donate button if you want to support me. Jan and I are going to continue with this theme over the next couple shows, because it's just so important to get as many people as possible with as much information as we can.
Absolutely. GnosticMedia.com. Please donate. We can't do the show without your support, ladies and gentlemen. Please try to make a higher level donation rather than the smallest amount, but we can't do it without you. The network, CCN, can't do it without your support, so please support them too. All of us need separate support. We all have our own lives, and all of this is done on our sweat and tears, so please support the work, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully Titus Frost will join us, or Sophia Smallstorm, and I look forward to those episodes, and no doubt much more will be revealed in the next week. And be aware of the sophistry and the counterintelligence efforts by the intelligence community to shut this down.
That's right. Goodbye, everybody. Good luck.
Goodbye, good luck, and good night.
If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Mainstream media exists for the purposes of indoctrination and manipulation of public perception. The world of free and independent media is growing, and with the upsurge in information now available in the public domain, it has never been easier to access free and independent media. The exploration of this information resulted in an experimental project which would provide a fully supported space for researchers, whistleblowers, and seekers of all kinds to express themselves and educate the world. On the 1st of January 2015, Conscious Consumer Network was launched to the world. Nobody thought we would make it this far, but CCN is the longest running free and independent media network of its kind. CCN is a unique collaboration of hearts and souls, bringing you information from different perspectives to educate and inform. Since we started CCN, we have had only one desire, the pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world, and this has not changed. Having overcome many challenges over the last 2 years, CCN is here to stay, and we've got great things lined up for 2017. Help keep CCN on the air by supporting the 2017 Network Support Fund.